Hey, I'm Tegan.
And I'm Maisie.
Welcome back to the Quirky Crimes. Today we have our Halloween special, which is very exciting. I think it's like 2 days till Halloween or something.
2 days till Halloween.
That sounds about right. I love Halloween. I never really celebrate it, but I love it.
When I was living in England, it was so much better because it gets dark at like 4 p.m. there. So when you go trick or treating, it's like proper and it's cold and it's just so much better. Here, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, Australia's not really great for it, but it's fine. We're doing our
Well,
absolute
this
best.
is how we can just watch Halloween movies.
Exactly. I have my Halloween playlist ready. It's all working out.
This is fantastic.
Um, anyway, so we're just gonna go through like 10 crimes committed on Halloween night. I just have a few up from a website, so we'll be like, I don't know, 5, 6 minutes for each, depending.
Depending on what we think about them.
Yeah. So I actually haven't read through this article as of yet. It's my first time looking at it. Just found it, but it's fine. So our first murder is the Candyman.
Oh no, no,
So
no.
I think you've probably heard of this one. So this was Ronald O'Brien, who's also been called the man who killed Halloween. So on Halloween 1974, 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien returned to his Houston home from a long night of trick or treating. I'm not going to read this whole story. Anyway, um, after changing his story multiple times, police learned that Ronald was responsible for his son's death as he had poisoned the candy with cyanide.
Whoa, you just
Um,
sorry. Back up a little bit. Hang on a second. So
um,
wait, so his kid went trick or treating and he
yeah,
came back and he died, and the police are like, who done it? And then they're like, oh, let's check the candy, and there was cyanide in it.
yes, his son came
Oh,
home from trick or treating, and his dad gave him one more piece of candy, which the kid instantly ate. Instantly ate. Within moments, he was vomiting and died on his way to the hospital. So Ronald changed his story multiple times, but the candy had been poisoned with cyanide, and the police found out it was him. A year later, he was found guilty, given the death penalty by lethal injection. But that's turned into a big thing now. Like, parents will check their kids' candy for cyanide, or like any other sort of thing that could have been tampered with, sort of.
do we know why he killed his son?
I don't know. Let's quick Google search.
It's being annoying. It was just like, Dad, I just got back from trick or treating. It's been so much fun. And the dad was like, shut up, you're being annoying. Here, do you want some candy?
uh, it says on Wikipedia, the most trustworthy site, that he poisoned his son in order to claim life insurance money to ease his own financial troubles, as he was $100,000 in debt.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a picture of him,
Do kids
he
even
looks
have life
insane.
insurance? Like right now, do I have life insurance?
I think you would have some sort of life insurance, but that sounds weird because it's not like what are you contributing? Why do you have life insurance?
Nothing?
Oh, he looks kind of like an actor,
Who?
like an
The kid
he
or the dad?
the guy that killed his son. He looks kind of like an Australian actor, but anyway,
Uh,
moving on from that point. I I don't know. Do we have life insurance?
I
Do
feel like, I don't know. Quick question though. Like, it's. Why would you use that? Like, huh? Would you not just, like, okay, Halloween trick or treating, he, like, had set himself up to have such a good, like, motive, like, such a good, like, he could have dealt with that a lot better. All I'm saying, you know, he could have just chucked the candy in like the bunch of other candy that his kid had gotten while trick or treating, right? And his kid dies, and then he goes, "Oh, you know, like he just came home and went straight up to his room or whatever. I didn't see him." Or
Yeah,
but then be like, "I don't know where the candy came from." Why would you be like, "Oh,
he
but
doesn't
I
sound
don't
like
know."
the smartest killer, honestly, because yeah, you could have hid that really well. You could have just blamed on someone else, like all that. But like, I feel like he wasn't necessarily prepared for it because he did say he changed his story like multiple times, which like a rookie mistake, obviously. But
But if you're gonna kill your son for life insurance, I feel like you should probably have a plan beforehand.
you would
I
think
don't know.
so. Maybe it
I
was just
just
like a spur of the moment decision, got some cyanide from the cupboard because that's the thing people might have had
yeah.
then. What year was it? Did people just have cyanide in their cup? I don't think that was.
I mean, they use isn't cyanide rat poison? Like there's a form of cyanide in rat poison.
That is
I don't know. I
true.
could be wrong about that.
I know it was in the 70s. People might have
People just
just.
have cyanide in their cupboards.
I mean, we don't know. We didn't live in the 70s.
For dinner tonight, honey. You know the good old cyanide.
I looked it up though, and apparently children do have like, well, children are available as an additional benefit in a life insurance policy.
Damn.
So just sign your
What did they
child up for some life insurance and murder them. Keep your story straight, and we're all good. Like, please don't do that though.
Yeah. Please don't kill someone for life insurance. Just pay back your debts. Go get a job. I don't know.
Don't get into debt in the first place. I don't think that's the thing that people are able to do. Debt's so easy to get into. Anyway, on to the next one. Leslie Ann Mazzara and Adrian Insogna. I'm sorry, I probably said that incredibly wrong. Insomnia? I'm so
I don't
sorry.
know. Just roll with it. Roll with it.
They were stabbed late one Halloween night. So Leslie Leslie and Adrian and their friend Lauren were busy handing out candy to trick-or-treaters in Napa, California. Was that somewhere that the Zodiac Killer was?
Napa. I think so. Okay, guys, just don't go visit California, especially on
Yeah.
Napa. I feel like it
California
looks like
seems like such a sketchy place. Like I always thought it'd be so cool. Now I'm like, oh, maybe not. Um, so they were busy handing out trick or treats. Oh, 2004. Damn. At around 11 p.m., the three women went to bed, not knowing that there would be one more visitor that night.
wait, there were three women. I thought there was a dude and a guy.
I
Was
might
it
have
the
said I was thinking Adrian was a guy because there's like a picture of a guy. I'm assuming he was the killer though.
oh
Adriana? Maybe there's an E at the end. I'm not three women. But one of them awoke to a scream from the upstairs bedroom, ran out of the house, and drove away. Which already seems kind of sus.
why would you not go? Just she was just like, no, I'm out of here.
Like, when you call the
Bye,
police,
guys.
at least, like, you'd at least call the police.
Each go for themselves. I'm out of here.
Anyway, Adrian and Leslie, they were 26, were both stabbed to death upstairs. So Eric Matthew Koppel, a friend of one of the victims, eventually turned himself in and confessed to the murders, but he never told anyone his motive. He's serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. I think it's always creepy when they never really have a motive.
I
Like,
know, and I find it more creepy that he's turned himself in. Like,
yeah,
that he won't give a motive of it. Oh, that's terrifying.
like,
Maybe he was just like the Halloween spooks got to me.
I don't know, but the kind of guilt you'd have to feel to turn yourself in.
Well, I feel like killing a person, you know, you gotta have either either absolutely no conscience at all, or like wouldn't it just eat at you? It's like I can barely like if I know that I have to lie to someone or like make an excuse to get out of something, like I get such a guilty conscience. I'm like, oh, what do they find out or anything like that? So let alone full on murder.
He does look kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie, like, I
It's all a
know.
bit sus of those circumstances. Like,
Yeah.
does anyone know if is it like proven that he definitely did it, or is it just his confession that?
I think it's just his confession.
So we
That's
don't know if been paid off. The killer could have paid him
true.
to go confess.
But I mean, he was friends with them, and isn't it like a lot of murders are generally like someone that the person knew?
Well, that's terrified me.
Yeah. Stay inside Halloween, Maisie.
Yeah, I think I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Locking my bedroom door. Or maybe I'll just do what the third lady did. Just
Just get in your car and drive away with your driver's license.
did she not even like try to go back and see if her friends? She was just like, no,
I
I'm not.
really, I don't know. Okay, I'll tell. Like, the website I'm getting this from is insider.com. I just looked up like Halloween murders and it's like top 10. I'm like, oh, that one. But
Yeah, we're very prepared for this.
oh yeah, 100%. But it just says she left them, so I'm going to assume she didn't really
She
come
didn't
back.
even try. It was just like, you know what, guys? Look, I'm really sorry you're gone or you're in trouble, but I don't want to get stabbed tonight. It was
Like,
fair enough.
imagine you're downstairs and upstairs in your house, someone just screaming, and you're like, oh, just gonna get in my car and drive away. Like,
To be fair, maybe she thought like, oh, I can drive away, like get myself out of this situation, and then like call the police and go back.
I'm assuming she would have called the police. I feel like this is making her sound a lot worse than she probably was. Cause like if I heard that, I would leave the house and I would drive away and then I would call the police. Cause like I'm not I'm not putting myself in danger. I'm so sorry. If you're already probably gonna die, then that's on you. I am
Me just calling up to the killer, like, that's on you. I'm out of here. I'm sorry.
honestly. What's the next one? The Toolbox Killers. Murdered for the last time on Halloween night, 1979. Um,
These guys serial killers. That's
it
such like a
sounds like
that
it.
sounds like a movie.
It does sound like a movie. Surely there's a movie of them.
Ruthless serial killers who killed together, and then we finished our killing spree on Halloween night.
That sounds like Scream, but like one person. No, Scream. I haven't even finished the Scream series yet. I kind of watched the first few and then I forgot it existed, you know?
The only scary movies that I have watched are, the comical parodies. Scary
Oh,
movie.
there's. This is.
Very funny. Very,
Yeah.
very funny. Even, oh, beautiful. But other than that, except for Coraline, I don't think I've.
Okay, that's kind of disappointing. Anyway, but I don't even know if Scream is on Halloween night. My mind's just thinking of Scream right now. It's been stuck on that all night for no good reason.
No,
Anyway,
okay. Just a PSA to everyone: no matter what you do not watch Coraline on Halloween night. You will not sleep for a solid 6 months.
Coraline was like my favorite movie when I was like
You're a
6.
psychopath.
That's
Did it
fair.
not scare you? You know that one
No,
scene where she's in the bedroom and the ghosts of the children come out?
no, they seemed kind of fun.
Tegan!
Yeah,
No! No!
I actually haven't
No!
watched it in a while.
I was in tears when I was watching it. I was so scared. I
I've
was like,
watched
oh, she's gonna come and eat me now.
I watched that movie at least 50 times. It used to be like on repeat.
I understand that. It's a good movie, but
It's a very good movie.
scary.
No.
Yes.
I always wanted some like candy like the old ladies downstairs had. That looked so good. Oh my god.
Hagen, you're either gonna become a murderer or be murdered by.
Honestly, both are very possible, but it's fine. Don't worry, I feel like I should not say that on the internet. I'm not going to murder anyone. I
Yeah,
will not
Tegan's not
murder
gonna murder
anyone.
anyone.
It's a lot
She's
of effort to plan. Anyway,
she doesn't have the vibes to do
I
that.
don't have the vibes. No, that's fair. Anyway, back to the toolbox killers. Shirley Ledford was hitchhiking home from a Halloween party, something you should never do. Never hitchhike.
Don't hitchhike on Halloween. Just
Don't
get
hitchhike at any time.
And the $15.
Don't hitchhike at any time. Honestly, I don't care how safe you think your neighborhood is. Don't hitchhike. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Or at least like, I don't know. I don't think it's even like a good way to hitchhike. It's just not it.
Stay at your friend's house, especially if you've had a couple of drinks. Don't drink and drive, people. Just stay
Yeah.
at your friend's house. Get someone else to come pick you up. Please do not go hitchhiking.
But anyway, two men picked her up in a dingy van. That is how it is described.
Absolutely not. I would be out of that.
I'm sorry. She almost like. Why would you be like, oh yeah, I'll just hitchhike home from this Halloween party in 1979 and get into some raggy old van with two men? Like,
dingy men. I love that adjective. They were described as dingy men.
oh, you're gonna say that for like the next week now.
What, the dingy men?
Yeah. That's fine. I'll just ignore you.
I tell everyone at school, that is a dingy man. Anyway, what happened to her? The dingy man probably had it coming. I'm joking. I shouldn't say that. She might have been intoxicated. We don't know the situation.
Yeah, guys, don't get drunk and hitchhike. It's like the worst combo.
So, what happened, Tegan?
So anyway, Lawrence and Roy, who were the toolbox killers, were famous. Stop it. Were famous for picking up female hitchhikers and then torturing with them. Let me just read the sentence properly. Torturing them with tools typically found in a toolbox.
Oh, hence the toolbox killers. They're really not inventive with the names.
I feel like the media came up with this one, honestly. The media comes up with the worst names.
Yeah. I don't know. Wait, so they tortured her and she died?
After torturing Ledford, they dropped her body on a stranger's lawn. She became the pair's fifth and final victim after a friend turned them in. Whittaker was sentenced to death but died in 2019 of natural causes. Norris, who cooperated in the investigation, was given 45 years to life. And apparently they often took pictures of their victims during the slayings.
There are some really despicable people out there.
Honestly, there are. He has such a big forehead. I'm so sorry. I'm just looking at his picture now. I'll just send it. Because he does have a large. He has a large. He was a serial killer and he doesn't sound like a good person, so I feel like it's fine for me to bully him.
Whenever anyone says, have you heard the Lore's diss track? You probably haven't. But whenever anyone says big forehead, all I can hear is like, his ass is getting thicker, but forehead's getting bigger. Sorry, it's fine. I'm doing fine. Oh my god, he has a really big forehead.
Exactly. Like, he could have cut his hair to make it look a little better.
Also, what? Oh, that.
I'm sorry, would you get into a car with him?
If him and a friend pulled up in a van when I'm hitchhiking home at night, I would be running for the hills. He just looks.
It's not it.
The little whispering mustache between it just goes underneath his nose.
It kind of looks like Hitler's mustache, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway,
also,
avoiding that topic.
Big shout out to the friend of these guys who handed them in. Like,
Oh
good
yeah,
idea.
go you.
Well done.
I also want to talk about how he died of natural causes in 2019. He spent
Wait,
like,
that was a year ago?
oh my god, that was a year ago.
Oh wow.
But that's 40 years on death row.
I feel like they could have saved a wait. Was it a state of America that still had the death penalty?
Yeah, he was sentenced to death.
I feel like they maybe should have gotten around to it a little bit quicker to save a lot of taxpayers' money. But I don't know. I'm not the American government. Thank God.
I wouldn't want to be them. But like, I'm sorry, the death penalty, whenever someone is sentenced to the death penalty, it always takes so long for them to actually die, and so many of them just don't.
Well, I think that's probably because it's like you have so many, like, there'd be a lot of paperwork. I don't know. I imagine.
I know it is quite expensive for that to actually happen, but it's also quite expensive to house a prisoner for 40 years.
What paperwork would that be? Like hazard risks?
I don't really want to think. Don't really want to think about what kind of paperwork that would be. Surely they wouldn't have to do any. I know that doesn't sound right, but you know.
Of course you would have to. Otherwise, they'd be like, oh, we just. Where did this one go? Anyway, moving on.
Next one. So Martha Moxley was found dead in the backyard of her home in Connecticut after attending a Halloween party. Here comes the Cootie Squad. Anyway,
Rams wingy party.
Possibly. So in the 70s, once again, 15-year-old. Oh, that's not the kind of age I was thinking about. Oh wow.
Okay, I'm really not going out on Halloween night this year.
So anyway, she left her home in Connecticut to attend a costume party. On Halloween morning, she was found dead in the backyard, beaten to death by a golf club.
What's her costume?
I don't know. It doesn't say. I could probably find it.
I feel like that's important.
Yeah, let's look for a costume that she was wearing that night, because that seems kind of fun. She was actually so pretty. What?
Beaten to death with a golf club. I feel like it would take a lot of horrible way
I can't see a picture of her in a costume, but she was incredibly pretty. Anyway, moving on. Sorry about that one. 25 years later, Michael Skakel, who was also 15 at the time, was convicted of the murder and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. 20 years to life is a very large gap.
Yeah. Especially if he's what? So he was 15 at the time and 25 years later. Mass. 40. So he's 40 years old. Actually, 20 to lifetime would be like 20 to 60 years.
Oh, true. But that's like a 40 years gap.
Is he still in prison?
Actually, he maintained his innocence, and on May 4th, 2018, the Connecticut Supreme Court vacated his conviction, and in 2020, CNN reported that the case was reopened to the public.
So he's free.
Well, he might not necessarily be the killer. Because they say he's maintained his innocence and he hasn't been convicted, but also,
What was the evidence against him at the time?
I'm not completely sure. I feel like at this sort of time they couldn't have a lot of evidence because I don't think they had like
Maybe it was
fingerprints
like,
and
you know,
stuff.
in those like teen movies where something goes wrong and the principal gets every single person in the school into his office and like chats. Maybe that's
Mm.
what they did. And everyone was like, oh, they were going out at the time, and then Martha had another boyfriend. Had a little gossip session. Nope, you have
I
no idea
think
what I'm talking about. That's
no,
fine.
I know
I'll
what
tell
you're
you what I'm
talking
talking about.
about. I know what you're talking about. I was just like kind of ignoring you a little bit, but it's fine.
Fair enough.
um, I think one of the reasons they convicted him was she was actually like the last time she was seen alive was across the street in his family's home. So they were like they lived across the street, and that was the last place she was seen alive with him and his family.
I feel really bad for the parents. You know, it's been all this time and they still don't the killer
Yeah.
of their daughter. Like, how horrible would that be to wake up in on a morning and come out and see your daughter, you know, dead and she's been bludgeoned to death by a golf club? Did they ever find the golf club?
Um, I'm not sure. I feel like we probably should have done. I assume they would have because
If they would have, then they would have found the killer. If he like wore golf clubs, I think it would have been a 15-year-old. Can you
um,
imagine any of our guy friends wearing golf clubs? Golf club gloves.
no. I
Comment
think
down
I
below
would.
if you're still listening to this and you're a dude, and if you wear golf clubs. Gloves. I can say
You
words.
got it. But I think honestly, cold cases is so
Terrifying.
terrifying, and the amount of cold case shows I watch, like one that's really like I've remembered a lot is I was actually watching it the other week with my mom. It was this family of five, I think it was, like a father, mother, and then actually it might have been a family of six. And they lived in France. We should probably do an episode on it at one point. But they, like perfect family. And then one day the shutters were drawn, and some of the neighbors like the shutters have never been drawn, like blah blah blah. Get the police to come over and just like look, see if they're okay. They get a letter a few days later saying that they were a part of like some secret US agency or whatever, and that they had to like keep their identity secret, had to move back to the US, that they're all fine and everything. And I think they said it was written in the father's sort of like tone, and then pretty much a few days later or like a week later or something, the entire family was found buried underneath the house with the two dogs, and one of the sons was buried apart. Like it was a mass grave, and then one of the sons was buried apart. Incredibly terrifying, but the father wasn't there, and they think the father did it, but they also said that he couldn't have bent down to be able to dig that grave because he had incredibly bad back issues. So it's this whole thing, and it's incredibly interesting, but it's also terrifying.
That is so
I should
scary.
find the show and I'll tell you what it is. Anyway, that was completely off track, but like
No,
nothing to do with
that's
Halloween.
wow. That's really. I feel like unsolved cases. I think I saw a TikTok about this because you know he find and it was talking about how like do you reckon murderers are like sitting at home watching Netflix and then like you know the unsolved cases on Netflix like they're watching that and then the case comes up that they did.
That would be kind of terrifying because you know it's like I feel like that either be terrifying or like exciting depending on the type of person you are.
feel like it'd be terrifying if you had like a guilty conscience. It's like,
Yeah. But if you're like a serial killer who's like there for the fame, like the Zodiac killer was, they will love this kind of attention. Mm-hmm.
Alright, what's next on your list?
Next one, a Japanese exchange student in 1992 never made it to his Halloween party. Oh
Wait, so
no,
we never even got to enjoy the Halloween party?
no. And I just read the underpart. This sounds tragic. When Yoshihiro Hattori, Japanese exchange student, went out on Halloween night in 1992, he was heading to a party in New Orleans. He didn't know the neighborhood and he was struggling to find the address. When he eventually thought he found the house, he knocked, and when he got no answer, he walked back to his car. Then suddenly the door of the house opened and he said, "We're here for the party." But the man in the doorway shot Hattori with a revolver. So it turns out he was at the wrong address, and when police questioned the homeowner, Rodney Pierce, he claimed that he had been scared and thought that the student was trespassing on his property with criminal intent. He was later charged with manslaughter, but invoked the Castle Doctrine, in which Americans claim they have the right to apply lethal means to protect their homes, and was found not guilty by a jury.
See, I'm gonna try really hard not to make this podcast political because I know everyone is very much entitled to their own political opinions and stuff like that. But when you have, how old was the Japanese exchange student?
Um, doesn't say. I think he would have been probably 16, maybe? Yeah,
So
16.
say we have a 16 to 17 age, what age boy, who is looking for a party. You know, he politely knocked on the door, didn't get a response, walked off immediately. Like, and the fact that an American homeowner could just grab a gun, open his front door, and shoot someone, and then for a jury to be like, "Oh no, he has the right to defend his land against people like that, and he has the right to defend it with a firearm." It makes me so mad because I'm not entirely sure if this is true, and I will completely apologize and acquit my words if I'm wrong, but he it was probably a racist thing as well. You know, you see a young Japanese man who's looking lost. I don't know the entire story, but he probably didn't look like a threat, and for a man to just open fire on him, for it to be okay, just absolutely not right. We should not live in a society where that's right.
Just thinking, like, on what you said, the 90s in America, the war would have been, what, like 50 years ago or something? This man, or at least his father, would have lived through that war, and like the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, all that sort of stuff is probably such that it like deep ingrained hatred and racism.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't know it.
And it just seems so horrible that like a man had to lose his life, a young person had to lose his life.
Hattori's father told Japan Today in 2012, "Sometimes I feel like he's still in America. Someday he'll come back home," I say to myself.
Oh, I'm gonna start crying.
That one was really sad.
That was really sad. Just, how could you live with that for the rest of your life? You know, we've been talking about guilty consciences, and that sort of stuff. How could you live with yourself for the rest of your life knowing you young adult dead?
Personally, I think with manslaughter, I think someone should be like, they should have some sort of psych evaluation where they can figure out if they actually feel guilty for what they have done. And if they don't feel guilty, I feel like it shouldn't be manslaughter.
That is true, but I feel like there is quite a few people in the world who would be able to get.
Yeah.
Also, something you really don't. I think manslaughter is such a difficult thing to
Yeah.
talk about, difficult thing to happen in, because it could be you're in a car crash and one of the people in the other car died. Either could be in a situation where you ABC program called You Can't Ask That. They had a show about people who have killed someone, and a lot of them were manslaughters, and it was things like domestic abuse partners who, in order to not get killed themselves, probably accidentally kill their partner. There was also a man on there who he was in his car and he had been out for a date.
You're cutting out just a little bit. Macy? Or you just keep cutting out. You're good.
Oh, anyway, I was just saying that it's something that it devastates a lot of lives and quite
it's a difficult topic.
Yeah, exactly.
The next one, Peter Fabiano, I love the name, died in what police said was a crime of passion in the late 50s. Crimes of passion are always kind of fun. Go look at the little love triangles and stuff.
I thought you were going to say crimes of passion is always in the late 50s. It's like, oh.
But that's also kind of true. Like, you hear about them most in, like, the 50s. Like, why were people so, like, you looked at my wife, I have to kill you. Like, I don't think I could ever be that romantic. Like, where'd the romance go? It died. It died when the crimes of passion stopped. Anyway.
Yeah, probably for a very good reason.
When Peter and Betty Fabiano went to sleep Halloween night in 1957, they thought they were finished with trick-or-treaters, but in the middle of the night, the doorbell of their LA home rang. So Peter got out of bed and brought candy to the door. I'm sorry, if it's midnight, I'm not answering the door to you. You should be done with trick-or-treating by then. That's not my issue anymore.
Also, if it's midnight, it's most definitely either going to be A, killer, or B, a bunch of teenagers. And who wants to deal with a bunch of teenagers on Halloween?
Exactly. Honestly. So on the doorstep was a woman wearing a mask. She raised her hand, which was in a paper bag, and shot him in the chest. He died instantly. So the police eventually arrested a woman named Joan Rebel, who reportedly had a sexual relationship with Peter's wife, Betty. It's believed... Sorry?
It's all good.
It's believed Rebel talked another woman, Goldine Pisa, into murdering Peter. Rebel was convicted of second-degree murder along with Pisa and was sentenced to 5 years to life in prison, and both women were later released. Betty was never tried for any connection to her husband's death.
Hang on, so both of the women were released? Were they convicted or just released?
Yeah, they were sentenced to 5 years to life in prison.
But they got out.
Yeah. I mean, kind of fun. Seems like he was in the way of a beautiful relationship.
Mm,
Yeah.
not really. No.
um, I don't know. Doesn't seem too Halloweeny. We'll just skip over that one.
Mask. I don't know. I feel like if I
Just the mask.
do they not have like little holes in that? You know how you have like a little hole in your door, like a peephole you can see out to see who's on your front porch.
Yeah. I don't know how
Surely
many
you could have
houses
done that.
actually have that. Does your house have that?
Uh, no, we have like a massive pane of glass in my front door. Well, not like I can see through my front door, so if someone standing there, I can see who it is.
But I feel
I
like if
did
it's
have a house though. Actually, I lived in an apartment.
yeah. I feel like if it's Halloween night though, and you see like someone in a mask, you're like, oh, trick or treat, I'll just give them some candy, and then you just get shot, you know?
Absolutely not. This is why you do not trust anyone with a mask on. Just don't trust anyone. Full stop.
So just like don't
Especially
open my
not
door on
Halloween.
Halloween.
No, because like even if it's not something bad, it's like it'd just be your friends like pranking you, and absolutely not. No way. I hate pranks so much. Don't do it unless you're doing like a gym prank from the office. No way.
That's fair. So Johnny Frank Garrett was convicted of strangling a nun to death on All Hallows Eve. So 1981, on Halloween, don't think they really needed to include the date. We know when Halloween is, I hope. A nun's body, Sister Tadia Benz, was found naked in a convent in Texas.
Oh no.
The other nuns in the house noticed a broken window in the community room, so they called the police immediately. Authorities found Ben's clothing and a knife under the bed. An autopsy revealed the nun was stabbed, strangled, and sexually assaulted. Police arrested a man who lived across the street named Johnny Frank Garrett after a witness saw him running from the convent that evening. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 1992. His last words were reported to be, "I'd like to thank my family for loving me and taking care of me. The rest of the world can kiss my ass."
Damn. I mean, what a disgusting human being. Like, just as I feel like okay, I don't. Well, I'm an atheist. I think that's the right word. I don't believe in God, or I don't follow any religion. Is that the right word? No.
I mean, you can really use any word you want. It's up to you.
Yeah. Like, I'm not against it. People have their beliefs, and I think that's awesome. Good on you. But like, it's just not like something that that's the wrong word. It's just not something that I believe in, personally. But I feel like to disrespect a convent, and especially like nuns are, very. They never marry. They're married to God, and they cover up completely. To strip her naked and sexually assault her.
I mean, I feel like it's like I don't really believe in God or like any of that either. It's not my thing. I kind of grew up on it, but I don't believe in it. But to disrespect someone else's religion like that, I don't understand it. I could never do something like that. It's
It's just like I have a lot of like I don't follow religion, but I have a lot of respect for religious figures because they have a lot of respect in their community and maybe not, but like I have a lot of respect for them and their choice of lifestyle, and I feel like to do that to someone just completely, and then your final words to be like, oh, to the rest of the world you can kiss my ass, like just ugh. Anyway, he's gone from the
gross.
world.
Carl Jackson. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, just to do it on Halloween, which is like the night of the devil in the
Yeah.
Christian community. Just, ugh, icing on the cake.
But like thinking like that, he probably had himself up on some sort of high pedestal, thought he was the devil sent by Satan.
Absolutely not. Wait, quick question: is devil and Satan the same person?
Alright. No, a
Let's go
devil.
with yes.
It depends what religion you do, because I know with like Satanism and demon idolatry and that sort of thing, devils are like terrible, just evil things. Demons are actually that like help you, and they're sort of like the gods you would worship. And then Satan, Lucifer, different things.
Oh,
But I know in a lot of religions, like Satan, Lucifer, the devil, they're all the same.
oh okay.
And for some of them, it changes.
Before we go too down a deep rabbit hole, let's move on.
Exactly. So Carl Jackson was killed over an egging incident. So throwing up eggs on Halloween night is generally like a harmless prank. It happens quite a bit. In 1998, 21-year-old Bronx resident Carl Jackson and his girlfriend went to pick up her son from a party, and teenagers threw eggs at their car. Jackson got out of the car to yell at the kids to stop, and in response, one of the teenagers pulled out a gun and shot Jackson through the head.
Oh my gosh.
He was charged with second-degree murder and criminal possession of a weapon. He was convicted and is serving 20 years in prison. He would be
Why
out
only
now.
second degree murder? Why is it not just murder? He took out a gun and
Because it's either, I think, third degree is manslaughter, isn't it? And then first degree is like planning out the murder and doing that. He didn't plan the murder or anything. It was kind of like a just plan. But he definitely should have gotten more time, I think.
he's only serving 20 years for it?
Well, he'd be out by now because that was 98.
Oh my gosh. So he got out 2 years ago.
He was 17, but that's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse at all. I feel like that's just worse. And especially if he's now grown up in the penal system.
And
Hopefully he's become a new man and he's changed and he feels a lot of empathy and we'll all be right.
yeah, I'm not going to get into the rabbit hole of prisons. I think
It's fine.
not tonight. William Lisk killed his family members on Halloween in 2010, so 10 years ago. 16-year-old.
I don't like the recent ones.
No, they're not fun.
It seems a lot easier to stomach when they were like, that was 25, 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
that was in the 70s. 70s was so long ago. And 10 years ago, 16-year-old Devin Griffin came home on Halloween to play video games after attending church and spending the previous night sleeping out. He noticed the home was too quiet, so he went to check on his family members. He proceeded to find his stepfather in bed, covered in blood. When police arrived, they found two more bodies, his mother and brother. Police eventually learned the murderer was his stepbrother, William Lisk. Yeah. Lisk beat his older stepbrother, Derek Griffin, with a hammer, shot his father 5 times, and then sexually assaulted and shot his stepmother. Lisk pleaded guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder to avoid the death penalty, but was found dead in his jail cell in 2015 from a self-inflicted wound. I just think the murder cases where kids kill or one of the sons or daughters kills the entire family is just so terrifying.
Oh, I'm really regretting doing I think cases where it involves family and like an entire family are just devastating. Like I watched an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And they were talking about a family who it was on Christmas Eve, so not Halloween, but Christmas Eve. Um, it was this family of I think there was seven, a mum and dad, and then they had I don't know. But basically they lived like a little bit out of the main village, so they were probably about 5-10 k's away from like village, like. And basically on Christmas Eve, their house started burning, and neighbors saw it, and they like called the fire brigade to come and help. But
Sorry about that. My computer just decided to run out of space, but we're
professionals.
Professionals. We're back. So just finishing talking about that family murder, and you were talking about the one on Christmas night, which we will do an episode on, which sounds absolutely terrifying. But whenever I think of like family murders, I also think of like the Amityville Horror as well.
I feel like we can't talk about that at 10:45 at night.
Oh, I cannot. I'm already kind of scared. I'm not gonna lie. Like things don't scare me easily, but these are just like real. And my parents also just like took out a wall underneath our stairs, and it looks almost exactly like the Red Room from Amityville Horror. I've seen that movie or like variations of that movie like 5 times, and so I refuse to go into that room now. Like it's connected to the bathroom downstairs. I refuse to use that bathroom now. I just don't, because it's absolutely terrifying. My mom's like, "Oh, it's painted. It's fine." I'm like, "That there is a demon in it. That is not. It's not an okay part of the house."
We should go ghost hunting together.
Oh God, no. It does not sound like a fun night. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it would be the.
Honestly, it would be a fun little podcast, and we'll go ghost hunting together.
We go to a haunted house together and then like document that experience.
Oh, that would be a time.
How many people do we have left on your list? Because I really don't know if I'm gonna make it through.
We have one more. So a brutal killing on Halloween night in 1981 remains unsolved to this day.
Absolutely not. Alright, good night everybody. Have a great.
Photographer Ronald Sisman and Smith College student Elizabeth Platzman. That sounds almost like an actor name. Is that like Elizabeth Plattman? Is that an actor? Or am I just making something up?
I think you're making something.
I'm gonna look it up in a minute. I don't think I'm making that up. Anyway, we're beaten.
I think to end all a really nice bedtime.
A nice bedtime story? I can read you one after. It's fine.
Thank you, Tegan. I'm scared.
They were beaten to death in their Manhattan apartment on Halloween night in 1981. Oh wait, no, they weren't beaten to death. That's my bad. They were beaten and then they were shot. Their apartment was completely ransacked, but nothing was missing, and the case is unsolved.
Absolutely no way.
That is absolutely not what I wanted to hear.
Why did we finish on that one?
I am so sorry. Let's. I'm not even. No, that's not it at all. Anyway, we
I
have
think in my mind, whenever I think of like Halloween and crime on Halloween, I always think of it as something like the Purge. And just because it's like, those people dressing up and wearing masks and that stuff. There was actually a tradition in, I can't remember what city in America, but basically Halloween would create it would be like a 3-day holiday where the city would just, it was almost like a purge. The city would just dissolve into chaos, like steal things, ransack things, set fires. Like it was a really bad time.
Oh, wow.
And then they like fixed crime rates and it got better, but and they stopped the holiday or whatever. But like, man, that's terrible.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying.
I feel like we should finish off by reading a nice little. I'll tell you a nice little story
Nice
about
story.
Bobby and the Princess. I'm not going to be able to sleep for the next 3 nights.
It's
Guys,
fine. That just
fine,
got me
thank you.
thinking about like the little bedtime story, Princess and the Pea. I haven't heard that in so long. It just gives me these like childhood vibes, but I don't know if they're good or bad. But it's
Alright, Keegan. Once upon a time, there was a
oh
princess
god.
in a faraway country, and she ran away from home for some reason. I can't remember why, and it was definitely raining because, princess
Oh, it has to
it's
be
raining.
raining.
But then she found a door that was magically another palace, and she knocked and was like, "Come in, please. I'm a princess." And the people that own the house was like, "Ha ha ha ha! No, you're not." And she was like, "Yes, I'm a bit sleep." And they're like, "Okay, so we're super duper smart, and if she's a real princess, she'll be able to feel this tiny little pea that we put underneath 100 mattresses." And she goes to bed, and she's like, "Oh," she doesn't sleep all night, has nightmares. She wakes up the next morning, and she goes into the kitchen, and the people that own the house are like, "Oh, how did you sleep?" And she's like, "Oh, I had a really terrible night's sleep." And they were like, "Why is that?" She was like, "There was something underneath my mattress." And then they were like, "Oh, maybe she's a princess," but they still didn't believe her. So the next night, because, this princess to stay in strange house 3 nights, because then conveniently she can fall in love with the prince. But yes, she's like, "Haha, I will stay another night." And they put a tiny little pea underneath 1,000 mattresses, because that's, we have 1,000 mattresses as well. And she's like, "Oh." She wakes up the next morning and she goes and has breakfast, and they're like, "How did you sleep?" And she's like, "I had a terrible night's sleep. Are you guys putting something underneath my mattress? Because I can feel it and it's horrible. I come here drenched, soaking. I'm a princess and you treat me like absolute garbage. I want a nice mattress, please. Not 1,000 of them, just one nice one." I'm joking, that's not what she said.
So I would have said that's so me.
Because princesses aren't allowed to have their own thoughts. So she was like, "Oh no, I had a horrible night's sleep." And then I actually don't know if I'm telling this correct, but I think the third night they were like, "Oh my god, she is a princess." And then she got married to the prince happily ever after with her 10,000 mattresses. Good night, everybody.
Don't think we have time to go into the logistics of any of that. So I'm just gonna wrap it up now. Thank you to Anchor for sponsoring this. I think they sponsor this. I'm going to assume they sponsor us. I posted that anyway, so this will be on Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, SoundCloud. I think there is another one that Anchor just uploads it to, but I can't remember what it's called.
Can I do the next shout out?
Of course you can, Maisie.
The biggest shout out to our massive friends over at the Pastor Pod. Everyone go check them out. We are, beautiful podcast. Second best in the world. Ours obviously being the best, 100%.
It's a sexy podcast, especially when Maisie and I are on, like we were last week. So definitely go listen to that one.
Yeah, but
Um,
massive thanks to Pastor Pod for supporting us and getting us off the ground. We love you.
yeah,
Sometimes.
thanks, Calvin. um,
Thank you guys for listening and sticking out. This was a weird episode, and
yeah,
I'm sorry if you have nightmares.
I'm so
But
sorry, but it's
I hope
all
you
good.
liked my little story at the end.
Yeah, we all loved it. I'm sure people continue to listen.
Just for my stories.
Yeah, honestly, we'll do another little segment. Anyway, thank you. Bye.